Imagine this scene. A man is on the brink of death, and all the renowned luminaries of European science can do is throw up their hands in helplessness. Are you ready to take a look behind the scenes of history and discover the truly shocking truth about how Native American healers literally pulled people back from the brink of death? While the colonists who arrived on the continent despaired in the face of severe injuries and skin diseases, writing off patients as completely hopeless, for the indigenous peoples of North America, this was a solvable problem. They didn't build massive hospitals. Their salvation was literally right under their feet. The ordinary wild forest around them turned into the most perfect and abundant pharmacy, surpassing any laboratories in the old world. Don't switch channels under any circumstances, and be sure to watch this video all the way to the very last second. At the end of this episode, you're in for a real game changer. You'll learn in detail how unremarkable tree bark and a couple of stems of common wild herbs forever turned the colonists' arrogant view of medicine on its head and made them believe in the impossible. Pour yourself your favorite drink, get comfortable, we're starting. What if I told you that everything you believed about the primitive medicine of the past is a lie? Deep in the eastern forests, near the longhouses of the Iroquois, an incredible story of a young warrior's rescue unfolded. He suffered a severe injury during a long expedition and returned to the settlement in a state of extreme exhaustion. Local healers doubted he would recover until an old herbalist from an ancient dynasty of healers took on the case. She knew exactly which plant could restore his vitality and quickly repair the damaged tissue. The old woman went to the edge of the forest, where tall, straight stems with small white blossoms grew. It was yarrow, which the locals had used for centuries to heal the most complex and deep cuts. The plant possessed a unique ability to quickly halt tissue destruction and trigger the process of cellular regeneration. The herbalist carefully cut off the upper parts of the plant, taking great care not to damage the main root system. She gathered only the freshest and juiciest leaves, filled to the brim with the life-giving juices of the wild. In a spacious, long house, the healer set about preparing a special, life-saving and healing mixture. She carefully ground the fresh yarrow leaves between two flat stones until they became a soft, greenish paste. She applied the resulting mixture in a thick layer to the injured area, completely covering the vulnerable tissue from external influences. On top, the herbalist secured the compress with broad leaves from other forest plants and bandaged it with soft strips of tanned leather. This painstaking process required incredible precision and a deep understanding of the properties of each natural material used. The plant acted as an incredibly powerful natural shield against all manner of serious complications and external infections. The active substances contained in the yarrow juice actively cleansed the damaged area and promoted rapid closure of the edges. The warrior, who just yesterday could not get up from the mat on his own, began to gradually recover. After several days of constantly changing these compresses, the tissue began to heal noticeably and steadily. The elderly herbalist once again demonstrated the power of her family's ancient knowledge, passed down from generation to generation. The Iroquois held yarrow in incredibly high regard and always tried to plant it near their permanent settlements. They harvested it at the end of the warm summer, when the stems were most saturated with beneficial chemical compounds. Dried bundles of these herbs always hung from the rafters of their long houses, exuding a light and pleasant herbal scent. The plant retained its medicinal properties even after a long winter, remaining a reliable remedy. Every large family had its own supply of this indispensable and faithful forest helper. Today, yarrow can be found in many regions of the world, but its original fame originated in the forests of North America. It continues to grow abundantly in the same meadows where wise Native American healers once gathered it. Its modest white flowers conceal a powerful force capable of performing true miracles of cellular regeneration. This story reminds us of how closely and inseparably humans were connected to the world around them. The forest truly was the most reliable and accessible pharmacy for those who knew how to read its green pages carefully. The wisdom of indigenous peoples lies in their exceptionally careful treatment of every plucked stem. They took from nature exactly what was vitally necessary for survival, never depleting natural reserves. This approach allowed them to thrive for many centuries, relying exclusively on renewable natural resources. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about this approach to healing and the use of natural resources? Share your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on new exciting stories. I discovered this by chance while carefully studying old archives about the way of life of the Great Plains tribes. It turns out that the Lakota and Cheyenne used a very special plant to recover quickly after strenuous physical exertion. It was purple coneflower, a beautiful flower with a sturdy stem and bright petals, growing across the endless expanses of the prairies. The Native Americans reverently called it one of the Earth's greatest gifts and cherished it as their tribe's most precious treasure. The roots of this plant possessed incredible power, capable of instantly halting the spread of severe inflammation in deep wounds. Unlike forest tribes, the inhabitants of the open plains faced entirely different and harsher climatic conditions. Dry, biting winds and the scorching sun required special methods to preserve the medicinal properties of the harvested herbs. Echinacea roots were dug up exclusively in late autumn, when the withering plant channeled all its vital juices into the underground part. They were carefully cleaned of dusty soil and dried in the shade to preserve as many beneficial chemicals as possible. In this form, the roots could be stored for many years without losing any of their original and powerful efficacy. To prepare this life-saving remedy, experienced healers ground the dry, hard root into a very fine, uniform powder. This powder was generously applied directly to the site of the fresh injury, creating a dense and reliable protective layer. Echinacea acted as an impenetrable natural barrier, neutralizing any harmful effects of the harsh external environment on vulnerable tissues. Cells began to regenerate actively and rapidly, and the injured person's overall well-being improved dramatically with each passing hour. This method worked flawlessly even in those critical cases where other remedies proved completely ineffective. European pioneers crossing the plains in wagons often suffered from unfamiliar conditions and sustained serious injuries. When their own meager supplies of medicine finally ran out, they were forced to seek urgent help from local tribes. Native healers demonstrated the power of echinacea to them by applying the crushed root to the most frightening and hopeless injuries. The results astounded the Europeans, who were accustomed to the exhausting, lengthy, and arduous process of natural recovery. They genuinely could not believe that a common prairie flower worked far better than complex and expensive pharmacy concoctions. In addition to direct external application, the Native Americans often prepared a strong and tart herbal infusion from crushed echinacea roots. This drink helped a weakened body mobilize its internal hidden reserves more quickly to fight serious injuries. A person who regularly consumed such an infusion became more resilient and returned more quickly to their usual nomadic life. Europeans desperately tried to replicate this recipe, but they constantly got the proportions or the exact steeping time wrong. The Native American secret lay in a mathematically precise calculation of the water temperature and the duration of the root's contact with the hot liquid. Practicality and a deep understanding of plant properties made the medicine of the Plains tribes truly outstanding. They turned the harsh environment into their main ally in the difficult struggle for daily survival. Their experience irrefutably proves that nature always offers elegant solutions to the most tangled and complex problems. Do you think modern people could survive in such conditions, relying solely on knowledge of herbs? In the next chapter, you'll learn how wormwood saved lives in harsh conditions, and this secret will surprise you greatly. The secret for which people pay thousands has lain right on the surface of the Great Basin's dry lands for centuries. We're talking about three-toothed wormwood, which the hardy Comanche tribes turned into a universal remedy for repairing damaged tissue. This plant, with its silvery, dense leaves and pungent aroma, grew in conditions of constant and severe water scarcity. It was precisely the harsh, arid climate that forced the wormwood to accumulate the maximum amount of active healing compounds in its stems. The Comanche were well aware of this property and successfully used it to treat the most severe and dangerous physical injuries. To treat truly severe injuries, the Comanche made a very strong, dark decoction from fresh or dried wormwood leaves. They thoroughly washed the injured area with this hot decoction, completely removing any dirt and foreign particles from the skin. The liquid possessed a powerful natural antiseptic effect, destroying absolutely all harmful elements on the surface of vulnerable tissues. After thorough cleansing, fresh crushed leaves were applied to the area, creating a dense, protective greenish layer. This reliable method made it easy to avoid complications, even during long treks across dusty and windy plains. Wormwood was also widely used to heavily fumigate areas where severely weakened or seriously injured tribesmen were staying. The thick, bluish smoke from this plant effectively purified the stale air and created a favorable atmosphere for the rapid restoration of inner strength. Experienced healers sincerely believed that the pungent aroma dispelled severe weakness and quickly restored absolute clarity of thought to the injured person. In enclosed leather dwellings, this method worked flawlessly, creating a reliable semblance of a clean and sterile space. European doctors confirmed much later that the volatile essential oils of wormwood do indeed possess properties that effectively purify the surrounding space. Families of healers kept the secret of the correct and precise concentration of the wormwood decoction in the strictest and inviolable secrecy. If the medicinal solution is made too weak, it will do nothing to stop the dangerous destruction of tissue in deep and lacerated cuts. If the dosage was significantly exceeded, however, the concentrated, acrid juice could severely burn the vulnerable and delicate edges of the damaged skin. Only many years of continuous experience, passed down strictly within a single respected dynasty, could help find this delicate, ideal balance. It was precisely this delicate balance that made Comanche medicine so effective and unpredictable to all outsiders and uninitiated observers. Today, concentrated extracts of various wormwood species are widely used in conventional pharmacology throughout the civilized world. However, the original, purest, and most complete knowledge of this plant's application belongs specifically to the indigenous peoples of North America. Their remarkable powers of observation and life wisdom allowed them to discover properties that saved many thousands of lives during long, difficult years. The silvery, hardy shrub continues to modestly adorn desert landscapes, faithfully guarding the ancient, hidden secrets of Native American healers. This herb has forever become a symbol of the inseparable and enduring connection between human survival and the immense power of the wild. The history of three-toothed wormwood irrefutably proves that the most valuable medicines often grow in the harshest and most inhospitable conditions. The wise Comanche were able to recognize in this unassuming and tough shrub an inexhaustible source of incredible and powerful healing energy. Their rich experience serves as a wonderful and vivid example of how a respectful attitude toward nature is generously rewarded by the saving of lives. If you truly enjoyed this amazing story about the wisdom of the Comanche, be sure to like this video. Your continued support helps us actively discover and share even more forgotten secrets of indigenous peoples. Are you ready for the shocking truth about how sticky tree resin successfully replaced surgical sutures for surgeons? Far away in the snow-covered north, in the dense subarctic forests, the Cree people constantly faced extremely low temperatures and harsh conditions. During the cold winter, any serious skin injury could instantly lead to irreversible and fatal consequences due to the intense, biting cold. It was there that the balsam fir became the true and only lifesaver for hunters who were injured far from their warm camp. The thick resin of this evergreen conifer possessed unique adhesive and regenerative properties, serving as a substitute for an entire modern first aid kit. Extracting fir resin was a very complex and painstaking process, requiring specific, honed skills and a deep knowledge of the winter forest. With a trained eye, the Native Americans would find small, hidden swellings on the trunks of old trees, filled with a thick and incredibly fragrant liquid. This resin, which was later often called Canadian balsam, was collected with the utmost care into special, spacious birch bark containers. During the cold season, it instantly became very hard, so it was always preheated over a fire until it reached a viscous state. The warm, fragrant mass was immediately applied to the gaping edges of the wound, securely and firmly bonding them together. Every Cree family had its own recognized and experienced gatherers who knew exactly which trees in the area produced the best resin. They carefully passed down to younger generations the valuable skill of finding the most useful fir trees, even under a very thick layer of snow. It was extremely important to carefully extract the balsam without damaging the tree itself, so that it could continue to live and produce valuable resin. This sincere, caring attitude toward the winter forest has been the unshakable foundation of the philosophy of the indigenous peoples of the North for millennia. They deeply perceived these ancient trees as living, wise helpers, always ready to share their strength in times of need. In addition to effectively treating fresh injuries, this resin was successfully used to heal very old, long-standing, and complex injuries. To do this, the viscous balm was carefully mixed with charcoal ground into the finest dust and thick organic fat. The resulting dark, thick ointment penetrated very deeply into the calloused tissues, softening them and reactivating stalled regeneration processes. This proven method worked without fail, even in those critical cases where European doctors strongly recommended radical surgical measures. Traditional Native American medicine offered an incredibly gentle, yet very confident and complete recovery without aggressive or destructive intervention. The ability to find a reliable remedy right on the trunk of an ordinary tree saved countless lives in the snow-covered and cold taiga. This natural glue has forever become a symbol of the unyielding human will, capable of surviving in the harshest and most unbearable conditions. Nature always gives us a chance at a miraculous rescue if we know how to correctly and carefully read its quiet hints. Do you think modern doctors could manage without complex instruments, having only a silent forest at their disposal? In the next chapter, you will learn exactly how Native American healers prepared their amazing ointments. For wise Native American healers, the process of creating healing ointments was never simply a mechanical mixing of various gathered ingredients. It was an incredibly profound and complex process, requiring the utmost concentration and complete inner spiritual harmony. The healers sincerely believed that their own state of mind was directly transmitted to the picked plant and greatly influenced the final result. Therefore, before beginning their work, they always spent time in complete silence, clearing their minds of all worldly worries. Only after reaching a state of absolute purity and serene calm did they slowly begin to grind the gathered forest herbs and roots. Special tools for thoroughly grinding dry herbs were made from very specific types of stone or extremely hard wood. It was believed that the natural material of the mortar also transferred its hidden energy to the future remedy throughout the entire process. The heavy stone bowls were polished very carefully and for a long time with river sand until they were perfectly smooth, so that not a single particle of plant matter would get stuck in the pores. These valuable tools were kept incredibly carefully in separate leather pouches and passed down strictly within the dynasty of healers. No one else had the slightest right to even accidentally touch these sacred and important objects of Native American life. A reliable base for the vast majority of medicinal compresses was purified natural vegetable or thick organic fat, which was simmered for a very long time over low heat. This prepared fat served as an ideal neutral base, capable of fully absorbing and retaining all the volatile essential oils from the added plants. The crushed leaves were very slowly added to the hot, clear base, while the mixture was constantly and rhythmically stirred with a smooth wooden spatula. The long boiling process could take several hours until the mixture acquired a uniform, even color and a very rich herbal aroma. Then the finished hot ointment was carefully poured into small birch bark boxes or small clay vessels to cool slowly. The exact cooking temperature was absolutely critical for preserving all the beneficial properties of the green and fragile ingredients. Experienced Native Americans did not use thermometers, but were perfectly capable of determining the right heat level by the specific sound of the bubbling, thick liquid. They knew for certain that too strong a fire would instantly destroy the life-giving power of the herbs, turning the healing ointment into a useless substance. Therefore, special fires for preparing medicines were built exclusively from specific types of wood that provided a steady, long-lasting heat without a bright flame. This most delicate skill required many years of continuous practice and a flawless understanding of the ancient laws of burning fire and smoldering wood. To create effective dry powders, the collected forest roots and leaves were first dried for a very long time in a cool, dark place. Direct, bright sunlight could easily destroy the fragile organic compounds, so the valuable herbs were safely hidden under the high vaults of dwellings. After drying completely, the material was carefully ground between flat stones until it became the finest, practically weightless green dust. This dust was packed into small, convenient pouches made of very soft suede, which trained healers always carried on their woven belts. In case of urgent need, they could apply this powder instantly to halt destructive processes in damaged tissues. Every small jar of ready-made ointment or pouch of powder was the result of the painstaking and arduous labor of an entire family. They poured into this work not only their precious time, but also a part of their soul, sincerely wishing for complete healing. This unique approach was radically and permanently different from the soulless mass production of medicines that would later take over the entire world. Ancient Native American pharmacology was a true high art, where the grandeur of nature and humanity merged in a single impulse toward health. That is precisely why their remedies worked without fail, where other known methods proved completely and utterly powerless. What was found in the old archives compels us to look at the life of the forest tribes in a completely new and admiring light. In the northeast of the vast continent, in the dense deciduous forests, the Iroquois Indians discovered the incredible hidden properties of a mighty tree known as the slippery or rusty elm. Its light-colored inner bark possessed an amazing natural ability to produce a copious amount of thick, healing mucilage upon contact with ordinary water. The resourceful Native Americans transformed this mucilaginous substance into one of the gentlest, most delicate, and most effective remedies for healing the skin. The tree became a true and enduring symbol of hope for those who suffered greatly from extensive and very deep superficial injuries. The harvesting of the bark of the giant rusty elm was strictly regulated by the respected tribal elders and the wise dynasties of healers. The precious bark was harvested exclusively in the spring, when the awakening sap actively rose up the trunk, making the inner cambium as moist and swollen as possible. The Native Americans cut small vertical strips with the utmost care, taking great care not to damage the main wood or destroy the tree. These strips were carefully brought back to the settlement, where the inner, lightest part was meticulously separated from the coarse and useless outer layer. It was this thin inner layer that held the greatest medicinal value for the entire large tribe. Experienced Iroquois could successfully cure a person, even in the critical case, where the affected area was alarmingly large. Knowledge of the unique properties of slippery elm was carefully passed down from experienced mothers to their growing daughters in the spacious longhouses of the Iroquois. The older women were primarily responsible for the health of their large families living under one roof, and always kept a supply of this powder on hand. They taught young girls to unerringly identify the right trees in the forest by the shape of their crowns, the size of their leaves, and the texture of their outer bark. This vital training began at the earliest age, shaping entire generations of highly skilled and observant forest pharmacists. Every family took genuine pride in their impressive reserves of elm, which ensured peace of mind and safety for all household members. European settlers, who often suffered from completely unfamiliar illnesses and serious injuries, constantly turned to the Iroquois for help. They were genuinely amazed at how incredibly quickly the pinkish wood paste permanently soothed inflamed and severely irritated areas of skin. The colonists' doctors, accustomed since childhood to very harsh treatment methods, noted with great surprise the exceptional effectiveness of this gentle remedy. Soon, the valuable powder made from the inner bark of the elm became one of the most important commodities in trade between the Native Americans and the settlers. Europeans began to purchase it very actively and in large quantities for their travel first aid kits and large stationary field hospitals. Today, Purified slippery elm extract is a key ingredient in many modern products for effective skin regeneration. Cutting-edge science has fully confirmed the unique chemical properties of its tree mutilage, which Native Americans discovered many centuries ago. However, massive and uncontrolled deforestation has led to a significant and alarming decline in the population of this remarkable tree across the entire continent. Nevertheless, the proud descendants of the Iroquois continue to carefully preserve knowledge of it, passing down ancient secrets to entirely new generations. The rusty elm remains forever one of the most striking and compelling examples of outstanding Native American forest botany. A deep understanding of nature allowed indigenous peoples to find an incredibly gentle solution to the most severe and daunting problems. They irrefutably proved that effective treatment does not always have to involve the use of very harsh methods. Their unique wisdom easily outpaced European orthodox medicine by entire long and turbulent centuries. Do you agree that sometimes the simplest natural remedies work much better than complex chemicals? In the next chapter, you'll learn how Native Americans kept their medicines fresh for many years. Harvesting medicinal herbs and potent roots was a true and complex art, requiring the deepest knowledge of botany and the subtlest climatic characteristics. Experienced Native American healers never gathered plants haphazardly. They strictly followed a precise calendar dictated by nature itself. Each plant had its own unique ideal moment for safe harvesting, when the concentration of beneficial substances reached its absolute and maximum peak. Some valuable herbs had to be cut in early spring before the first flowers appeared, while all the active sap was still in the stem. Other heavy roots only attained their true hidden power in late autumn, just before the very first severe frosts. The most important, unbreakable rule of gathering was a deep respect for the overall population of the plant in a specific forest or open steppe area. Experienced healers never picked absolutely all the flowers in a single clearing, always leaving the strongest and healthiest part for reproduction. They cut the stems with the utmost care, using sharp, polished flint knives, taking great care not to damage the fragile root system. This wise principle of sustainable resource management allowed the tribes to successfully harvest in the same locations for many centuries. The forest always remained rich and incredibly bountiful thanks to this conscious and constant care on the part of grateful humans. In the spacious longhouses of the Iroquois, there were special dry areas right under the ceiling, set aside exclusively for drying medicinal plants. Smoke from the lower hearths rose upward, creating a constant warm and very dry atmosphere, absolutely ideal for preserving herbs. In addition, the light, constant smoke reliably protected the supplies from mold and shielded them from unwanted natural elements. These precious bundles of herbs hung in neat, beautiful rows, forming a veritable hanging pharmacy of immense and undeniable value. Each dry bundle was meticulously tied with strong fibers from nettles or reliable, sturdy tendons. The nomadic tribes of the Great Plains, such as the hardy Comanche and Lakota, developed their own unique methods for transporting dried medicines. They crafted special rigid cases from thick rawhide called parfleche, which were carried during long journeys. Inside these incredibly durable cases, the fragile herbal supplies were completely protected from jolting, rain, and the scorching prairie sun. Parfleches were often decorated with highly intricate geometric patterns that reflected the great history of a specific family of hereditary healers. Thus, a mobile and highly reliable pharmacy always traveled with the tribe, ready for use at any moment. The art of gathering and properly preserving herbs was just as important as the rare skill of treating complex physical injuries. Without ingredients harvested correctly and in a timely manner, even the wisest healer became completely helpless in the face of danger. This complex and well thought out system of knowledge ensured the continuous safety of the entire large tribe in the midst of completely wild nature. Traditions of extremely careful preservation were passed down from generation to generation, firmly establishing the foundation of Native American medical culture. It was precisely this incredible foresight and meticulousness that allowed them to survive the harshest historical and climatic trials. In the culture of the indigenous peoples of North America, Valuable knowledge about medicinal plants was never publicly available. It belonged only to certain families or entire dynasties, which had accumulated and systematized this priceless experience over centuries. Not just anyone could become a true healer. This arduous path required immense patience and rare innate abilities. The elder members of the dynasty closely observed the growing children, seeking out those who showed a special sensitivity to nature. The chosen best student devoted his entire long life to the detailed study of the properties of forest herbs and the methods of their proper application. Training began at a very young age and continued unceasingly for many decades of uninterrupted, arduous practice. At first, the apprentice simply followed his experienced mentor into the forest, visually memorizing the appearance and names of hundreds of plants. He spent a long time learning to identify herbs by the shape of their leaves, the texture of their stems, and the subtlest, barely perceptible nuances of their scent. An important part of the training was the ability to navigate the terrain perfectly and find hidden forest glades with rare roots. Only after the complete and flawless mastery of these basic skills did the mentor move on to explaining the medicinal properties of each plant. Dynasties of healers jealously and very strictly guarded their professional secrets from members of other envious families and tribes. Unique ancient recipes for ointments and complex herbal mixtures were passed down exclusively by word of mouth, with absolutely no written records. This strict secrecy stemmed not from greed, but from an incredible understanding of the immense responsibility for human life. An improperly prepared decoction could cause irreparable harm, so knowledge was entrusted only to proven and reliable successors. Each family had its own strict system of symbols and metaphors to describe complex medical procedures. The healing process was always accompanied by special family rituals designed to set the patient's mind on a speedy recovery. Healers used special rhythmic ancient songs and sounds, creating an incredible atmosphere of complete calm and trust. These subtle elements of influence were completely inseparable from the application of the herbal compresses and healing decoctions themselves. Arrogant European observers often mistakenly labeled these actions as superstition, failing to understand their deep psychological significance. Modern medicine has only recently officially recognized the immense importance of psychosomatics and the right mindset in the process of recovery. Interestingly, wise women played a huge and often leading role in preserving invaluable medical knowledge. In tribes such as the Iroquois, elderly matriarchs were the primary and undisputed keepers of recipes for restorative ointments. They strictly supervised the gathering of herbs, monitored the drying process, and personally prepared the most complex and effective medicinal concoctions. Male healers were much more often engaged in emergency field care during expeditions, using mobile supplies from parflashes. This harmonious and very sensible division of responsibilities made the Native American medical system incredibly resilient and effective. With the arrival of European settlers and the sudden emergence of new, previously unknown diseases, the role of the dynasties became even more crucial. Healers had to urgently seek out entirely new combinations of herbs to counter unfamiliar threats to their tribe. They demonstrated incredible and remarkable mental flexibility, boldly experimenting with dosages and discovering new properties in familiar plants. Many families were able to very successfully adapt their ancient recipes to treat severe infectious complications among the colonists. This complex exchange of knowledge took place at the border of two worlds, where Native American wisdom often prevailed convincingly. The history of these great families is living proof of the power of the human mind and its incredible connection to nature. They have irrefutably demonstrated that a deep understanding of the surrounding world allows one to perform true and real miracles of healing. Their unique knowledge, passed down through the centuries, remains an invaluable gift from indigenous peoples to all of humanity. Native American forest botany was not merely a collection of recipes, but an entire philosophical system of reverence for life. This system continues to inspire researchers and doctors around the world in their search for entirely new medicines. The first encounters between European city doctors and Native American medicine were met with deep mistrust and utter skepticism. Graduates of prestigious universities in the Old World, sincerely believed that the methods of indigenous peoples were utterly primitive and scientifically unfounded. They arrived on the new continent with confidence, carrying heavy trunks full of complex chemical powders, mercury ointments, and surgical instruments. Colonial doctors were firmly convinced of the absolute superiority of their academic system over the ignorant forest healers. However, the harsh reality of colonizing wild, undeveloped territories quickly forced them to reconsider their arrogant views. Under the conditions of arduous, prolonged expeditions and a lack of supplies, the Europeans' large medical kits rapidly and alarmingly emptied. Doctors constantly encountered severe injuries from felling vast forests or serious wounds sustained in skirmishes. Their traditional methods, such as bloodletting or cauterization with a red-hot iron, often only greatly exacerbated the condition of the weakened patients. Mortality from infections and severe shock among the colonists remained alarmingly high, despite all the efforts of licensed surgeons. It was during these bleak moments of despair that they were forced to humbly seek help from local Native American healers. What the Europeans observed in Native American settlements completely overturned their rigid understanding of the healing process. Instead of extremely painful procedures, the Native Americans used gentle rinses with herbal decoctions and applied soothing herbal pastes right before the astonished doctor's eyes. Even the most severe skin injuries began to heal steadily without developing severe inflammation. Plants that Europeans had previously considered mere weeds demonstrated truly phenomenal regenerative properties. This stark contrast between gentle Native American therapy and harsh European surgery was truly striking and astonishing. Many leading European physicians began to actively document the practices they observed and eagerly collect plant specimens. They meticulously compiled detailed catalogues of the local flora, recording the Native American names and methods of preparing medicinal remedies. These invaluable journals were sent to Europe, where they instantly caused a sensation in conservative academic medical circles. Scientists attempted to extract active compounds from the roots that had been sent to them in order to establish mass, low-cost production in laboratories. Thus began a very long process of the burgeoning Western pharmaceutical industry adopting Native American knowledge. Nevertheless, this incredible cultural exchange forever changed the face of modern Western medicine. Doctors began to pay much more attention to natural ingredients and gentle methods of restoring damaged tissues. Many radical surgical practices were seriously re-evaluated, giving way to more delicate and conservative treatments. Respect for the immense power of natural antiseptics discovered by Native Americans persisted right up until the invention of modern synthetic drugs. The legacy of indigenous peoples is deeply woven into the very foundation of global medical science. Today, medical historians are striving to restore historical justice by reinstating the names of Native American tribes in academic reference works. They are studying the old records of colonial doctors in great detail to piece together, bit by bit, the lost details of the original recipes. Many universities are establishing programs in ethnobotany, recognizing the immense value of Native American traditional knowledge. This process allows us not only to preserve historical memory, but also to find new keys to solving modern problems. The wisdom of the boundless forests and prairies continues to serve all of humanity faithfully and reliably. The history of the encounter between European science and Native American practices is an absolutely wonderful lesson for future generations. It irrefutably proves that no single system of knowledge can be considered absolutely perfect or the only true one. Openness to entirely new experiences and sincere respect for other cultures very often lead to the most remarkable discoveries. Great Native American healers, who had absolutely no microscopes or laboratories, managed to comprehend the mysteries of nature through the power of their observation. Their legacy will forever remain the brightest and most compelling example of the boundless possibilities of human knowledge. The influence of the indigenous peoples of North America on global botany and medicine cannot be overstated. Their unique knowledge, painstakingly accumulated over millennia, has become a solid foundation for many modern pharmacological discoveries. Plants that were once gathered exclusively by hand in wild forests are now cultivated on vast plantations around the world. They are ingredients in thousands of ointments, balms, and syrups, saving millions of people from serious ailments every day. This great botanical heritage lives on, despite all the historical upheavals and changing eras. Today, many leading researchers are returning to a detailed study of forgotten Native American practices in search of entirely new solutions. Modern bacteria are becoming alarmingly resistant to synthetic drugs, forcing science to turn its attention back to natural antiseptics. Complex herbal formulations used by Native Americans for centuries often prove far more effective against new strains of infections. Nature creates such multifaceted chemical compounds that it is practically impossible to replicate them with absolute precision in a laboratory setting. This is precisely why ancient recipes for ointments made from yarrow or elm are regaining immense relevance in the 21st century. Preserving this invaluable knowledge is a critically important task for the survival of the planet's botanical diversity itself. Along with the irreversible loss of traditional recipes, we are losing our understanding of how to use natural resources correctly and carefully. The Native American principle of moderate herb gathering should form the foundation of modern environmental policy and the pharmaceutical industry. Only in this way can we reliably ensure that future generations will also be able to benefit from the healing power of forests and prairies. Respect for plants is the first and most crucial step toward preserving the health of our entire vast planet. The legacy of Native American healing dynasties also teaches us a more holistic and correct approach to the human body. They never treated just a single physical ailment. They always sought to restore the balance of forces throughout the entire body. Their methods always included addressing the psychological state, proper nutrition, and creating a completely calm environment. Modern medicine is increasingly providing scientific confirmation of the absolute validity of this ancient, integrated approach to the healing process. Attention to the smallest details and an individualized approach remain the most important principles of true medical practice. Many national parks and vast nature reserves in North America now offer special educational trails. There, numerous visitors are given detailed information about medicinal plants that historically grew in these areas and were used by indigenous tribes. Guides demonstrate what these very medicinal herbs look like in their natural wild habitat, far from pharmacy shelves. These excursions help modern people rediscover the beauty and incredible hidden power of the surrounding wilderness. A return to one's roots is becoming an incredibly popular trend among people weary of the artificial pace of city life. We must treat the knowledge passed down to us by indigenous peoples with the deepest respect and immense gratitude. Their complex history is not only a tale of the tragedy of land loss, but also a story of the greatest intellectual triumphs. The plants they discovered continue to silently and faithfully fulfill their life-saving mission in hospitals on every continent. The bright memory of the wise healers of the Lakota, Comanche, and Iroquois is forever preserved in the formulas of modern medicines. Their green legacy in the vast history of world medicine will never be erased or completely forgotten. As we conclude this journey into the world of Native American botany, we realize just how incredibly rich and wondrous our natural world is. It reliably holds the right answers to many questions. We simply need to know how to ask them correctly and listen carefully. The wisdom of the healers of the past is like a firefly that helps us navigate confidently through the dark forest of modern problems. Every plant holds a hidden, powerful force, always ready to come to the rescue in the most difficult moments. May this story serve as a wonderful reminder for each of us to treat the green world around us with greater care. We have examined just a few of the amazing plants that the indigenous peoples of North America successfully used to save lives. Their profound, invaluable knowledge and skill in applying nature's gifts have convincingly proven that the forest can be the most reliable pharmacy in the world. Each amazing plant on our list holds within it the centuries-old wisdom of ancient dynasties of Native American healers. What other hidden secrets of ancient medicine do you think could be useful in our modern world today? Suggest topics for future videos you'd like to see in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to our channel.